for an old one revisiting or something?
Oh, we just got approved. It's something finished, and he's gonna look up the Mylar, but I had to come out to you guys.
When I say, hey, Steve, you won't forget.
Outside, it's still building the way back.
Yeah, we look so much alike.
Really?
I don't know who wants to wish what I need to wish. You gotta be the other version.
Well, look what you got to look forward to.
That's good. You were talking, on the
You are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially if you, you know,
choose on that kind of
to it for irrigation, you gotta have it. I didn't want to. Okay, it's not.
It all depends on the weather.
Cheryl, heard anything from, the attorney? We'll give them a couple minutes. It's now 7:00. We're gonna wait for council. Good evening. Okay. Council Chair will start the meeting now. Welcome to the Monday, October 5th, 2020, Hamlin Planning Board. At this time, I'd like to tell everybody about the fire exits, out the door on the left, downstairs, out the door on the right, into the hall. There's an AED here if needed. Okay, and at this time, I would ask that all cell phones and other electronic devices be turned off for the duration of the meeting. Okay, so that every word can be heard and recorded on our program that we have. With that being said, can you call the roll?
Linda DeRue. Here. Steve Law.
Here.
Dave Martin.
Here.
Chris Schleider.
Yes.
Mark Ellerstein.
Here.
James Nesbitt.
Here.
Steve Hittner.
Okay, everybody had a chance to review the September 8th, 2020 meeting from last month, and if so, are there any corrections, additions, deletions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Second. Been moved and seconded.
Linda DeRue.
Yes.
Steve Law.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Schleider.
Yes.
Mark Ellerstein.
Abstain.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Okay, tonight we have a public hearing for Curtis Goldman at 1224 Lake Road, Westport. Cheryl, please Read for publication.
Public hearing, special use permit, Curtis Golderman, 1224 Lake Road, West Fork. Application of Curtis Golderman, owner Curtis Golderman, seeking a special use permit for an in-home firearms business. This is in the RM zoning district, case account number 013.03-3-14. All interested parties will be given the opportunity to be heard at this time.
Okay, Curtis, if you would, please, stand up here so that we can pick you up on the screen. For Zoom, this meeting is being recorded through Zoom, okay? The meeting is officially open now, so, but before we get started asking for comments, and if you do have any comments, please stand up, state your name loudly and your address. And brief presentation first.
Yeah, so currently my name is Curtis Goldsman. I live at 1224 Lake Road, West Fork. Looking to put in a FFL or apply for an FFL licensure to be able to pretty much sell firearms, whatever else out of my home. So it's not planning on keeping any kind of large revenue or anything else there. It's pretty much I have an access point for locals and whatnot.
Okay, and in your application, you did talk that you are a registered NRA pistol instructor and a United States concealed carry instructor. These things are helpful. From what I understand from FFL applications, there's 7 different types.
Correct.
Okay. And the type that you're looking for is the purchase and assembly of, certain components that go with certain firearms. And that's one type. You need to have a local acknowledgement for this. You have to have a state license permit. You have to have a federal background check. And it's a fairly lengthy process. Okay. That being said, I just wanted to explain that to you. It's just not a gimme. It does take a lot of time and concern. So with that, I'll open it up to the public for any comments. And if it's something that Curtis can answer, please do. All right. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say? Please stand up, state your name loudly.
Mark Reeves, 3640 Brick Schoolhouse Road. I got some comments and talking points. You guys want to pass along?
Can we keep it under 5 minutes? If we can.
I'm not sure we can.
Okay, well, do your best.
So to familiarize yourself, I'm directly east of Mr. Golterman's house, and I'm at the end of his fire mansion. That's where my property is. So Curtis, you said you were going to be selling firearms and whatnot. What else are you going to be selling? Ammunition?
Yep.
How much do you plan to have on site? How many rounds? And what calibers?
Whatever the person would potentially require that I would be able to get a hold of, I wouldn't.
I apologize. I stopped this thing. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. What calibers are you going to be handling?
It would be whatever calibers that would a patient would potentially need that I'd be able to get a hold of.
How are you going to secure those on site?
Well, I have locked doors, and there'll be, as far as with the security system and stuff that I have within the household.
So, okay. So you're just going
And I'm happy to be able to secure some kind of a safe. It depends on what I want to end up keeping on site. And I have to go through and see what,
how many firearms will be on site?
as far as the purchase,
Your maximum amount of firearms you'll have on site.
is that including my own?
That includes your own.
I don't think I need to disclose the information that I
But you
have
can
on
do
my
that
own.
with the, for sales stuff.
Right, so it could, I'm not gonna put a number as far as max or least amount, because it would depend as far as if somebody was gonna trade one in or not trade one in.
Right. You're gonna be, making your sales on site, collecting, collecting sales tax, so forth?
Yeah, it'd be a regular business.
Right. Do you include firearms trainings to customers and clients?
That is not what this is about.
You're not gonna do that at all? It's part of the business.
This is not part of the business. The business is an FFL, which means you're going to buy, sell, trade firearms and related equipment and accessories to that. It is not for firearms training. That does not mean that I will not use my personal range for my personal use though.
I don't have a problem with that. What is your hours of operation?
To be disclosed as of right now, it's me probably sometime in the evening. I haven't set anything up because of my work schedule. I have to discuss it as far as also with the FFL, but many times in the current plan is after I set them up and I get the current FFL, then I can go back, and that's what they recommend, to go back for a call for an appointment.
So, you answered the questions of certifications. Thank you for clarifying. You also said the training, you won't be doing training for clients. You'll just be doing your own. So I did have a part of here about the backstop, which is moved right now. Okay, first thing, I'd like to say I'm supportive of having a gun shop in town. When Frank closed Crack Shop, that really put a hurt on me, and we left a hole for firearms advice and so forth. And I like dealing with local rather than the big rocks. But I think that if you're going to give them a special use permit, I'd like to have some restrictions. All sales would take place in wherever the building code is.
If you read the town code, most of those items are discussed
So,
as part of the code, and if there needs to be special restrictions, we will be the ones that put them on the restriction of the business.
okay, so limited amount of
This
firearms?
town doesn't make decisions in a vacuum. Okay?
Right.
And I like the way the structure of this, the way you laid it out, but a lot of these items are gonna be taken into account, or are being taken into account by issuance of federal and state merchant and firearms licensure.
Okay, so, but I appreciate that. So I guess that would be the end of it. If, person is just gonna use the, range for his own use, it'll be okay. Be it's commercial use, he has to upgrade significantly.
Special use permit is an in-home business.
Right.
It has to be carried out in the domicile. Okay? There is this type of business, any ancillary use outside, someone buys a gun, gets the ammunition, goes outside, they're in violation
Okay.
of what the intent of the licensure is. You go to Dick's Sporting Goods, you go to Runnings or whatever,
Same thing.
you do not discharge your firearm. There are local shooting ranges, conservation clubs, and all kinds of places where you can do that.
Right.
So, that being said, we're talking about the in-home business.
Right.
The fact that he's gonna have to have a location that's inspectable as well as safe to store ammunition, not in the same location as a firearm. Okay. That distinction is part of licensure. And any, firearm business owner will tell you that, okay? But I'm gonna tell you right now, the way this is set up, it's gonna be entered in the record,
Okay.
okay?
Appreciate that, appreciate it.
I urge everybody to, on the board, to take a look at this, okay? And, see where we go from there. So I appreciate your standing up and telling us how you feel about it.
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay?
not a problem.
But we're not talking about a gun range. So, with that being said,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Would there be anybody else who would like to stand up? Please state your name and your address.
Barb Molesky, 1210 Lake Road, Westport in Hamlin. We're just north of Curtis's property. And my first question, you might have already answered this, where will firearms be sold from, the house or the barn? Because he has a huge barn there.
Yeah, just being a house.
Just in the house, okay. will the sign advertise the business?
No sense.
Okay.
You word them
I
out.
have something to go back with that after. And you already talked about hours open, and you already talked about will the buyer be able to try out the firearm before purchasing? You dealt with that. The only problem I have, and with guns, is if you don't have the business labeled or something, I don't want anybody ever to break into my house, you know, and that doesn't probably happen a lot, but you just never know, you know. I mean, if you don't have it, because both our properties are like 200 feet off the road. So if somebody's mistaken, but they know there's firearms in a house and they just happen to break into it, I wouldn't want it to be mine. That's the only negative thing I have. Otherwise, it's fine with me if he has it, you know. I don't know if this eventually will devalue my property because I've got 5 acres there. I don't know if somebody wouldn't buy because they're selling firearms next door. But I'm not really against it. I just needed to have some of these, you know, questions answered.
Okay, duly noted. Anybody else? If you want to recuse yourself, and we'll set the chance to recuse yourself.
Can I recuse myself? Well, do I have to recuse myself from the vote then?
Yep.
Nope, then I'll say.
Anybody else from the public? Public section of this meeting is closed, and now we'll do staff comments. JP.
There were no engineering issues concerning the indoor sale.
Keith.
If I'm reading this correctly, it would appear to me that this is not a home occupation that's on the list. However, there is a provision in the code that says if the planning board finds it similar to one that's on the list, then it can be approved that way. So you'd have to make findings to that effect.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl.
The only thing I'm concerned about, Curtis, are you going to have, you have all of your licenses already?
No, I haven't. I mean, I pretty much have gone through the first portion. Nothing to do with FFL license, but setting up an LLC part of it. That's the only stepping stones I've actually done because it is a lengthy process. It is financially based. It does take some time. And also it deals with a site visit. So as part of the site visit does involve with the okaying as far as any kind of local codes and such. So there's no point in getting to that point and say, well, I can't do anything.
Steve. Number 1 and 2, Steve.
I guess that part of it, I've known Curtis since he was, you know, this tall. I've always known him to be very responsible and you know, as a person, as a man, and taking care of his family and his friends. I had no problem with it. I think it's like the gentleman back there said, we lost something when Crack Shot left. I think there's a good need for it as long as it's done responsibly.
Linda.
No, this isn't zoned right now for this use, is that right? So that's why it would be a special use, and why we're making an exception for this.
Right. It's not whether or not you're making an exception, it's whether or not the finding, after I read through the code, after we're done with our comments, okay, is something that's acceptable. Okay, is retail sale and special use permit.
And all of your credentials, are we supposed to be able to verify those somehow?
Prior to receipt of all.
They have to be verified then. And the other thing that I just questioned is you have a range behind your home already?
I have a large berm of dirt. So, I mean, I do have targets out there, yes. So it's nothing that's, I mean, yes, some people consider, I did have a bulldozer come in and put a large 14-foot high berm on it so that I could safely
But
shoot
for personal use
for
only?
personal use. Well, yes, for myself, for family, things like that. But yes, myself and my wife or whatever else is out there shooting, yes.
But not customers?
No.
Those are my questions.
Okay.
we're gonna have the necessary permits in place with the building inspector before this business is open. You're gonna have all your pistol permits and,
Yeah, so, with, first of all, you get your FFL, and you can get your, like, type 7, whatever else, and you go through those. Once you get that, New York State, because it's New York State, has a separate kicker. So in order to buy, sell, whatever else with pistols, you actually have to get a separate New York State pistol permit dealer, whatever they call it. So an FFL isn't good enough in New York State. You need to go above and beyond that and get a New York State one. So once you get that, then you can end up dealing with pistols as well, not just long guns. So that all needs to go into play and whatever else. So, I mean, if I get the FFL and I'm still waiting on the New York pistol side of things, I can still start. If somebody said, hey, I'm really looking for this kind of a shotgun and this kind of rifle, I can try to hunt it down or whatever else, but I can't do anything for pistols until that comes in. So it all kind of depends on when everything plays and depends on what the schematics are as far as people getting back in paperwork and things that are going on, is my understanding.
how long does it take?
I think it all depends on how backed up they are down in Albany and every place else. I don't know as far as, I know that with the FFL, what I've looked at as far as, there's a website that I've been kind of following, how to do this appropriately and to follow the guidelines anywhere from local laws all the way up to FFL laws. That by doing so, you can end up maybe getting a site visit, I think they said within 60 to 90 days. That's FFL. So that's federal. They'll come and have an inspector come out. They'll actually set up an appointment. They'll do a walkthrough. In today's world, it may involve a Zoom call because I know somebody else who's done something similar, but it was some kind of a site visit, some kind of a site evaluation, something like that to see where things are, what's being done. As far as the New York side of things, I haven't gotten into that far yet because it's literally a step process. But again, I can't do anything until have that additional certification.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, or does that?
Yeah, I guess as long as you got the permits in place before you open the business.
Well, the last thing I want to do is end up doing something illegally because I am a concealed carry handgun. I don't want to get my hand slapped for anything else, obviously, either, and get carted off with that I can't utilize what I enjoy doing as well. So, I mean, as most people know, that anybody who's a Second Amendment, believer and follower and stuff like that, the last thing we do is try to break rules by all means. So I think we probably go above and beyond most things to make sure that we are definitely following the rules. That means if we're going over state lines and doing whatever else, we're definitely more cognizant of what's going on.
Everything's stored in a safe.
Yes, per whatever they require, and I believe that FFL does require that it needs to be in some kind of a secure location. And if you do have them in a similar as your own personal stuff, that they have to be marked as far as one's sale and one's personal use. So everything has to be appropriately labeled so that they know what is what.
Mark?
What were your hours of operation? When do you anticipate to be?
Yeah, so
sales?
I haven't put anything down yet because my work schedule with working at a hospital is kind of whatever else, but I do know that the person, the on-site, I forget what they call them, but the on-site inspector or whatever else, tries to make a time that he can come during those hours. So I'd probably set it very narrow, 7 to 9 or something like that, a few times a week. Once that you get the inspection, because they like to see something, they don't like to come out supposedly and see something that just says, call with an appointment. Once I get the okay, it says then you can go back and modify your thing, and I'll end up going to be called for availability because I don't want to be sitting at home from 7 to 9 or 6 to 9 or whatever else, waiting for someone to come knocking. I don't want that. I don't want anybody surprised at my door anyway. Call for an appointment. I'll make sure that I'm there. I'll make sure that I have stuff available that's needed. Everything is ready, so it's in and out and be done.
All right, so,
And I also want to be able to, obviously with this, social distance and do whatever else that needs to be done. So
right.
I don't want 6 people sitting around my house. I want one person comes in, okay, now I have some time and whatever else to fix things.
Okay, so generally you're saying it'd be call for an appointment.
That is my ultimate game plan, is to do a call for appointment.
Generally, evenings, early evenings.
And I'm most of the time I'm away. I'm available around on the weekends because I don't work weekends as of right now. So
Is this special use permit going to have a 1-year term?
Oh, special use permits are renewable.
Okay. For a 1-year term. And what does the list contain for similar uses that you worked at?
Well, I can get into the definition.
I'll let you do that.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you.
Okay, thanks. Curtis, last Wednesday night, I had a person come to my house and ask about the special use permit. Be aware of your neighbors. Your neighbors are your neighbors, and just be aware of that. I don't want to say anything that they said because it would be just secondhand information. I'd like to talk to you about 7 to 9 in the evening. Like you open 7 to 9. And my concern is lights on the driveway because you got a really nice long driveway and stuff. And you don't want them in your lawn, but your neighbors don't want spotlights off in front of your house. So these people can get to their vehicles and stuff. So we got to be aware of that. You're probably going to have to re-engineer night lights or put something along the driveway or
Not
something.
really.
You
You got
you
that
can ask
now.
my wonderful north
No,
neighbor
he's-
right now,
Yeah.
how low
I
things are
mean,
lit up.
he's got security lights and everything from the barn and the house and everything now. We're not, that's more our family room side, so,
But yeah, that's,
yeah, I'm
what
saying
I'm talking
ours.
about is the lights going out towards the road.
Oh, gotcha.
Facing the neighbors on the other side.
Oh, okay.
If Curtis trips and falls.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll leave you with is, when I was a kid, my first 22, and I'd go out and try to shoot down a tree and all this kind of stuff. And my dad said, don't ever forget, that thing can travel almost a mile.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you're gonna continue to have a berm in your backyard, you gotta get a steel plate, or you gotta get something that gets a different angle, because that dirt pile over a number of years is gonna get shorter and shorter. And if you look at the town roads, you only got about a half a mile where you live between the East Fork and the West Fork. So you have the 1 in a million potential of
It is-
going over 19 if somebody comes out there and doesn't know what they're doing.
Yep, I understand this is a whole different topic. As of right now, it's 24 feet deep. So
Well,
I'm just letting you know that right now it's 24 feet deep and it's probably twice as deep as I originally planned, and that's also 14 feet high. And I'm gonna keep an eye on it because if it needs to be repiled up or whatever else, I will
I
certainly be
shot
able
with
to
some
do it.
guys out in Elgin. They had a 1-inch steel plate that was like 8-foot square. It's pretty good.
No,
And the
no.
last thing I'd like to leave you with is, this says in-home firearms. If that's void, and if somebody comes, if I come in and say, hey, I want to buy this pistol and I want a scope put on it, and let's go out and fire it. I'm not a member of your family. If somebody goes out there and fires on that berm, that's a customer, it will void, or has a potential of voiding the special use permit, which puts you out of business. So, yeah, just, I know I'm loading you up with.
No, that's fine.
but outside of that, wish you well.
Okay. Mr. Hamlin. Steve.
I wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
Fair enough. You answered enough questions.
We gotta make a finding, okay? There are things within the code that are allowed and listed. Okay, some things that have been in this town for years, were pre-existing. Okay, the original gun shops and so forth and so on. When code was put together, we also recognized the fact that we had a gun club in town, North Star. All right, so there is mention of what a gun club is, all right? And I'll get to that in a second. Special permitted use is for something that's not listed in the code, and it meets some certain standards, okay? And most of the standards that are listed are based on how dense your zoning is, how close together properties are, and also the fact that sometimes people want to have a business in their house. It's not their primary occupation, okay? And one of the items that we look at this board is special use permits. Some would liken that to say that it's tantamount to spot zoning. Okay. It's not necessarily what it is having something approved, a retail factor within a home, all right? But it also gives us the opportunity to put limitations on it due to the health and safety and the ability of neighborhoods to exist in an orderly and a safe manner. That's what a special permitted use is. If we had something similar to this, probably in a lot of different cases, but the closest one would be an archery repair business and bow sale business in a subdivision. All right, by appointment only. All right, without a firing range that is discharge of firearms, but both. Okay, and that was allowed. The difference here is the safety, noise, and all that other stuff. There's no firing range outside of that home. Okay, there's a short range in the basement. Okay, for tuning bows, and that's it. And that's for the owner. This is not dissimilar. The code's very specific, as Jim said, that any ancillary use outside of the domicile would render you, you lose your special use permit. Okay. But to have a gun shop, and we've had them here before, there was no discharge of firearms in a gun shop. And there might have been some small caliber pistol blank firing in a tube and red guns, but there wasn't one in a crack shop. Okay. So that being said, as a special use permit, you have some control over a business that has a multitude of controls, meaning the state retail license, okay, just so that you pay your taxes in a reasonable amount of time. The state's always got to have a hand in it.
Yeah.
Violation of federal firearms laws are a felony.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't think anybody wishes to have a felony in their record. Okay. And we also had a gun club, which was North Star, and it was added to our code in 1994. There's a definition of a gun club. There's no gun club asked for here. Okay. If there became a problem with that, the amount of complaints or what have you that could come from that, being maybe your neighbors or somebody on the other street, okay, would look at review of your special use permit. I don't want this to be a Second Amendment discussion because it really isn't. It is a lawful business that is allowed by the federal government. The controls we can put on it as far as, security provisions and everything, because you're going to have to buy a magazine for all your ammo, and it can't be in the same location as any of your firearms that you might have or holding for sale or taking in. We know that you'll have to have a separate safe and everything else for that. Okay, and that'll be done by recommendation after you have an inspection.
Yeah, the FFL and stuff will regulate everything that needs to be done.
You have to get your FFL. So the finding is, if there's an agreement to what I've spoken to is in the code, that could be consistent or is consistent with a retail use within the home, okay, in this district. Does that finding need to be voted on?
It does.
And should I provide a motion that says this finding is consistent?
A motion to the effect that the board finds the proposed occupation to be, that the use is of the same general character as those uses listed within Code Section 520-26 sub B. Something like that.
I don't usually make motions. Okay.
Can I just say,
We're
no,
not approving it yet, we're just
No, I
looking
know.
at a finding.
but I just wanted to make sure he was aware that to have a special use permit, you're inspected by the town once a year.
I understand that.
I didn't know if you knew that, and I just thought you should.
Yeah, they're based on it, that you continue to get the special use permit every single year.
Right.
Okay,
Thank
I'm gonna make a motion, to close the public hearing first. Okay. And can I have a second? Second. Cheryl, poll the votes.
Linda Drew,
Yes.
Steve Law.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Schleider,
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittman.
Yes. Okay, that being said, I would like the board to approve the finding that this application for a business in the rural, is this moderate, medium density
Medium density.
zoning for a permit to have a retail firearm sale business is consistent with other retail businesses previously approved by this board, as well as the intent that's outlined by our code in 5/20/26.
So, okay.
So,
I second.
second. Poll the votes, please.
Linda Drew,
Yes.
Steve Law.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Schleider,
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittman.
Yes. Okay, we need a seeker for this?
You should classify it as type 2, and that would be sufficient.
Do I have a recommendation or a motion?
I'll make a recommendation that we consider the special use permit for Curtis Copeland at 1224 Lake Road, West Fork, be considered a type 2 under seeker.
I'll second.
Poll the votes, please.
Linda Drew,
Yes.
Steve Law.
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Schleider,
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittman.
Yes. Okay, at this time, I'd entertain a motion for approval with conditions on this business, special provisions. This approval lasts and is gonna be on paper only until what time all the documentation can be provided showing the state sales tax, retail business, and firearm approval by the state of New York. Obtaining of insurance, liability insurance and everything that you're gonna need to have for your FFL.
Whatever, yeah, like I said, I'm going through the process and whatever they recommend.
But we don't know what that is yet.
Seriously, it's like a full step process to go here, 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 and here, and here, so.
But all that documentation is gonna have to be with the town.
Yep.
in folder.
Yeah, whatever the FFL recommends and requires and stuff like that.
You can't have any retail business until everything's approved. Would anyone like to attempt a motion or
I'll make a motion.
there needs to be some special conditions put on this?
I'll make a motion for the special use permit, to approve the special use permit from Curtis Goldman, owner Curtis Goldman, seeking special use permit for in-home firearms business. This is an RM zoning district, tax account number 013.03-3-14. With stipulations that all federal and New York State requirements and regulations be maintained and licensing be maintained, that the, one of my recommendations that you separate all appointments by at least a half an hour. So there's no crossover between, so you don't have two people that, coming in and out of your house at one time. So only single sales, one out before one comes in. No use of the range by any customer on site. Any other recommendations by people?
I'd like to see, this was given to us by a citizen, be put in the file. And I'd also like to see the state license, a copy of that be put in the file.
That's why I say you had to have all state and federal licensing before the business operation can be.
Could we add one in that the sale should end at 9 o'clock?
Yeah, I'm not staying up that late anyway, so you don't have to worry about that.
You gotta be.
I have to be at the hospital early in the morning, and I got pretty early before I have to work out, so.
We
whatever
want you to
want
be
do.
on top of your game.
Last appointment be at 8:30 at night.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I got kids, and that's whatever. Just for clarification, that the 8:30 the person's walking out, or the 8:30 the person's walking in?
Person walking in.
Okay.
So you're.
I don't wanna get hit for some stupid 15-minute thing, that's all I'm saying.
No, basically you'll be done by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's
Business will be, concluded by 9 o'clock.
Anybody else want to ask them? What do we have down now already?
All federal and New York State regulations and licenses to be maintained. I also
Obtained and
suggest,
maintained, yeah.
yeah, obtained.
How about provided?
Yep,
Provided.
provided. One half of appointments.
One person at a time, and separate appointments by at least a half an
Yeah,
hour.
1/2 hour.
To give them ample time to deal with.
No use of the range.
No use of the range by customers.
And sales will end at 8:30 p.m., done by 9 p.m.
Done by 9 p.m.
We'd like to add that upon obtaining all the necessary permits and prior to opening the resident, be inspected, the business part of the resident be inspected by the fire marshal. So that if need be, it can be pointed out if there's a big catastrophic fire or something else like that where the danger hot zone would be. Okay. You're gonna have your own security system that'll be provided, and you'll be maintaining copies of whoever comes and goes as part of your business.
Yeah, you have to maintain something like for 15 or 30 some years or something, you have to maintain all kind of sales for a certain duration of time, as far as somebody
What
comes
I
in or
read,
whatever.
there's so much, it's about that thick.
It's probably more paperwork, I think it's probably.
If you read the FFL requirements for security and all that, it's very extensive.
In the driveway where you got the lights and wherever you got people going in, do you have a turnaround?
Oh, yeah.
Is that pointed at your neighbor's house?
Oh, they got a fence.
I have a fence. And I have
So
two,
it's screened.
we have a large pole barn that's got all 4 sides, it's got a motion lights, and in the front of the garage, I got a motion light, and in the front of the house, I have a light, so I'm well lit.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a concern about something
Now,
else.
is this inclusive addition to the motion?
Well, clarification. With clarification, about one customer at a time. I'm a little concerned if the father wants to bring his son to buy him a gun for hunting. And 2 people walk in for that purpose. Is that one person, one customer at a time, or one person at a time? I don't want to get in trouble because the father's there with his son to buy him a gun.
Well, that's a good call, I mean, I would consider that as, if it's a father and son, they want to come in and they buy one, they have matching whatever else, I would consider that as being one customer, because it is the same family.
Yeah, you can't count it to a single person.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I want to make sure that someone else doesn't.
Oh, they got
see
2
that
people in the house at
complaint.
the same time.
Any complaint on this thing?
Right.
I want a clarification on that.
Yes, but obviously, if you were walking in the door and then Mr. Loth was walking in the door, that'd be 2 separate customers. Right. Unless you guys are family, I don't know, but it's okay.
Probably Steve.
It doesn't count. This is Hamlin, yes, but it doesn't count.
Want it as one of the conditions.
No, it could be a definition that, you know, if a family comes in and a purchase for someone.
A family consists of one.
Right.
Okay.
Keith, would there be anything else?
Not right now.
And as far as, just a side note, as far as this, you can enter this in being submitted to record, but not that these are all requirements.
No, but that requirement is why I want to keep it as a record.
Okay. Have a second?
Steve will.
Steve.
Steve. Whole votes, please.
Linda DeRue? Yes. Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Slider?
Yes.
Mark Valentine?
Yes.
Tim Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Pittman?
Yes.
Good luck, Curtis. It fills a hole in business. we have in town. As a lifelong member of the NRA myself, people need to be trained in safe use. I know you have that wish in your back pocket. You might want to contact Conservation Club of Brockport, one of those places if you'd like to put on some classes for safe handling. I mean, we make people take courses on how to operate a car. And
To be honest with you, I just helped him instruct a class yesterday. So I'm working kind of with the Rochester Personal Defense.
you've got a certain code, and it's not to misbehave, but to behave conscientiously. And as far as residences east, okay, there's quite an elevation difference past his backyard, okay,
No, there's not.
from where your house is.
My house is over on the west side, or on the Fritz Gloss Road, flag lot. This is where
Well,
we
we don't
walk.
shoot guns like this, so.
Right, well, there's houses behind it, but this is where I recreate, behind that,
Give me your phone number. Talk, converse. Communication. Communication is what this
Yeah, I
society
tried
is
that.
supposed to be about, right? Okay, very good. We're gonna do the next item on the agenda. Thank you, Chris.
Good. All right, thank you, everybody.
Yep, good luck.
Okay, is it Hamlin Fire Department property merge, 1503 and 1521 Lake Road, Hamlin.
Good evening, Rich Meyer, Meyer Landscape. Helping out the fire department, during, the process of buying the train building that's right due west, fire department as it sits right now. We want to add that portion of the property to the fire hall portion that currently exists. They've already gone to the zoning board because they're gonna have an issue of a rear setback, but they've been approved. So tonight, all we're looking for is to, expand that fire department property a little bit more to the west. Still gotta have a tournament.
All right.
So Rich, just so I understand this, there's presently 2 lots.
Right, there's a lot that the carnival grounds is on, and the fire hall is on its own separate lot.
Right, and the change is where this property line was here to adding more lot 2 and reducing lot 1 a little bit, just where it's labeled metal, one building.
Correct.
Where it's a lot, so it's just that expansion lot.
That's it.
So we're not really creating, we're not merging or we're not creating, we're doing a lot line change.
Yeah.
So, okay, the lot line, the old lot line, is that the long dash
That's
line?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
So if it's a lot line adjustment, there's another path.
And what would that be?
What is that? Code section 520-66, where you're basically adjusting a common line.
Which does that need a public hearing?
That is correct, yes.
Cheryl? Questions?
No.
Concerns?
No.
Jimmy, I'm sorry, I missed you on the last one.
I was talking other people at me.
Linda? Steve?
No concern?
Looks good. Steve?
Wonderful.
Fine.
No.
I'm good. Me too, so would someone like to provide a motion for this collective property line redistribution and change? It's not a change of lot line, it's just reconfiguring the land.
Is this be considered unlisted?
Yes.
Make a motion for the application of the Hamlin Fire Department owner, Hamlin Fire Department seeking subdivision land for tax account 01.03-001-002.11/003.1 to be an unlisted action under secret.
I'll second that.
Poll the votes, please.
Linda DeRue?
Yes.
Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Schleider?
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Pittman?
Yes.
That being approved and said, and this being a public entity, do we need to get preliminary and final single lot subdivision approval? Good, this is suffice.
I'm not sure if they are a government organization or a private not-for-profit providing services to the government. I think it's all their district.
Okay, so they're a district. Are we gonna get in trouble if we just leave the approval as it's set?
I mean, you can grant it, and to the extent that it's not required, it's not required.
Okay.
If they want the comfort level of having a piece of paper.
Okay, so that being said, I'd like a motion for preliminary and final approval of the single lot at this address.
Does it make a difference?
As a result of the simple lot line adjustment. Steve's. No, we've got to have a separate, just a separate motion for the district, that's all. So. We gotta do this separately, preliminary and then final?
No,
This is,
I've heard it done, you know,
right,
granting preliminary, waiving final.
right, right.
All right, I'll make a motion for preliminary and final single lot subdivision / simple lot line adjustment for the Hamlin Fire Department, 1503 and 1521 Lake Road. Tax account number 01.03-001-002.11/003.1. This is a CGB zoning district.
Second?
I'll second.
Linda DeRue?
Yes.
Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Schleider?
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Pittman?
Yes.
Thank you, Chad.
Good call.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anybody else out there waiting to be part of this meeting?
Yeah, he's in the hall, so.
There are some open seats now.
There's another woman out there too that's been waiting.
Please.
Want me to ask her in?
Yeah, there's 4 chairs here.
There are 4 chairs.
Thank you, Larry.
Sure. Are they coming in or no? Oh, okay.
It didn't move.
No, somebody's coming in with a drawing.
Oh, the lady's coming in now.
If you'd grab a seat and we'll continue with some business. Didn't want to leave you out there if you plan on coming to the meeting. Okay, next is the Conservation Corridor Development Permit for Michael Bryan, 8 Summerhaven Drive. Please state your name.
Michael Bryan.
Okay, and brief description.
I'm looking for a conservation development permit for installation of a dock.
What's the type of construction, open tile or?
It's a metal pile construction with cement, so a permanent dock.
It is going to be.
Open tile with cement, okay. Janine?
It's consistent, and there's no regulatory issues.
Clearly they got the DEC permits, that's the big hurdle. I just don't see in the application dimensions and details of construction that you'd want to probably have for your record.
Yeah, we do have that, and this is actually, he's coming back to this, because he was already approved for this over a year or so ago.
Okay.
So it was already approved, it just needs to be approved now since it's expired.
So it's a reapproval
Reapproval, yes, and you do have all the, everything in the DEC.
based on the timeliness of COVID-19, right?
I think we could say that.
I have a motion for reapproval. I want to rehash all things.
Make a motion for reapproval of Michael Green, 8 Summerhaven Drive for conservation development for a dock at the lake shore of his property. You want me to read it off? You want me to read it? No? That's
No, you're basically renewing it as previously approved.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Sorry.
Ladies first.
Linda DeRue,
Yes.
Steve Law,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Chris Snyder,
Yes.
Mark Valentine,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Yes.
Very good. This doesn't need a secret, it's been previously approved otherwise.
That's my take, yes.
Very good, good luck.
Thank you.
Get her done. Okay, the next item on the agenda is another conservation corridor development permit for Sue Richards at 6330 Shore Acres Drive. Sue, please.
Hi, I'm new to the area. I live on Shore Acres. I'm looking to replace a rickety old fence that's fallen into my property. It's 6 foot high. I'm looking to just replace the same fence, same height, same length. And reclaim some of the land that was taken. It's half of the fence was right on the line. The other half of the fence is 3 foot too far onto my land.
So you had the property surveyed?
Yes.
Okay. Janine?
This is consistent, there's no issues.
Very good, JP.
No engineer.
Keith?
Type 2, no concerns.
Cheryl?
Steve Richards does have a fence agreement from previous owners about the fence. It was acknowledged that the fence was not, you you guys get a copy of that? You have a copy. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Linda? Steve?
No concern.
Dave? Looks good. Steve?
Okay.
Mark?
Yep, no comments.
Jim?
No concern.
You either. Need a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion that we consider
Secret?
the application of Susan Richards for a conservation corridor development permit at 6330 Shore Acres Drive to be a type 2 action under secret.
I'll second it.
Linda DeRue,
Yes.
Steve Law,
Yeah.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Chris Snyder,
Yes.
Mark Valentine,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Yes.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to approve Susan Richards, who is at 6330 Shore Acres Drive, their application of Susan Richards, owner Susan Richards, seeking a conservation corridor permit, development permit to remove an existing fence and replace it with a new fence. This is located within 100 feet of the lake shore and to be 6 foot high privacy fence. It to be located on the lot line, reclaiming the original property. This is in an SR zoning district, CEHA, Conservation Corridor Development Area, County Tax Account Number 008.45-1-22.1.
I'll second it.
Hold the votes, please.
Linda DeRue,
Yes.
Steve Law,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Chris Snyder,
Yep.
Mark Valentine,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Yes.
Very good.
All good. Thanks. I'll catch up with you too.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Virginia Trolson, 40 Ross Cove. I figured over there. Virginia, please let us know what's going on here.
I just need to get approval for a pond behind my house.
And
And
is there anything else that,
right now, just approval for the pond that,
how big is the pond? When I see it drawing, in the picture.
Says 20 by 25.
that's
To the
probably,
right of the drawing.
How deep is it?
right now, it's probably like 8 feet right now.
So we need someone to fill to finish the grading in your house? There's a shed on this drawing.
I'm gonna be applying for a shed permit too. I don't have, I can just apply for the permit, right?
You're gonna have to check for all, that is certain way from the pond, the house and stuff.
Okay.
That's gonna take care of that.
Yeah. It wasn't on the original drawing.
Everything was not on the site plan. And ponds are not allowed in the zoning district. They're only allowed in others, only RVL, can be allowed to have a pond. And you can have a pond in any other zoning district as long as it's for runoff. This one was for fill.
So, an accessory use permit's the proper way to go about this? Just a question. I know in a lot of rural communities that have large properties and stuff like that, you see a pond in every yard because of your septic requirements. Keep the house up, either for rock or you want a raised fill system. But it wasn't on the original drawing.
Ponds shall be permitted within the RVL districts of town and Hamlin, subject to proper care and maintenance by the property owner and subject to a non-renewable accessory permit issued by the planning board.
What did you said it's not in the RVL, no?
No, this is the RCW. But now I'm out of the SR, it's in the shoreline residential.
But the allowable ponds are only allowed in RVL.
Only, they're permitted in RVL, they're allowed in all other zoning districts as part of the planning board approved site plan. And this was not.
It's already been done, right, Virginia?
Yeah, I found out.
I knew, fill it back in.
No, but it's also, it's an opportunity that maybe this should go before the zoning board workshop for why it's not allowed in anything else, where you're gonna be creating different types of uses in that zone for as long as we live here. So on the one hand, it's a good thing to recognize that. Keith, I'm looking for some direction on this after the fact approval.
You can certainly issue permits after the work was done, even though that's certainly not advisable. The bigger question is whether it's permitted by statute. I'm not seeing it permitted. So how does one issue a permit for something that is not permitted?
Did you say it was allowed by special use permit or no?
No.
By accessory. But you said it would be by accessory use permit, which is after the fact.
They're permitted within the RVL district, subject to proper care and maintenance by the property owner, and subject in the RVL district to a non-renewable accessory permit issued by the planning board.
But this property is not in that district.
Where's law enforcement? We have a new dog shop.
Well, then Keith, would have to go before zoning and then come back to us?
It could go in front of the zoning board for potentially a use variance, or we're going to potentially, the code enforcement officer and or the zoning board could make the interpretation that it's a permitted accessory use. generally speaking.
And the other caveat is if it's an approved site plan for drainage purposes.
That is correct.
It is correct, it is a, yes.
JP.
So the question
Looking at
is,
this,
could we call this a site plan?
no, but through approval of the original site plan. Okay, there's no change in elevation to the house or anything else like that from the approved site plan. So it needed some fill.
Did I understand that it's okay if it's for drainage purposes?
It's okay if it's for
If you
runoff.
need to have a new, if JP was looking at a different drainage plan, it could be, Cheryl could be.
This is all on the same elevation, it's not gonna drain, it's just flat.
No, they needed some drainage away from the house.
Yeah.
In answer to Steve's concern, if you come in for a site plan to build a brand new house, you're approving, the planning board approves the topography, which should include any excavation such as excavation for a pond or any mounding to build the house up or whatever. So if this had been included on the site plan, it'd be good to go. But what they're doing is basically drawing a circle on a plan and saying, hey, pond. That is generally not the way to do it. Usually ponds, even if they're being used for fill, are going to be sculpted in a fashion that they're done safely, that they have like a shelf for children and things like that. So kids don't unnecessarily drown, and there's that. So getting back to the chairman's original point, could you view this as an amendment to a site plan? Yes. I would argue this is a bit flimsy for that, but maybe what they do is go back to their engineer and have their engineer come back in with a modified site plan. I don't know, is it full of water?
Mhm.
Makes it a little more challenging. I don't know, Mr. Schultz. Can you shoot a pond underwater?
We got a kayak and we put the guys out in it. So
Okay. Okay.
it's not fun, but
That would
better
be,
you pump it down and shoot it.
yeah. That would be the proper way to do it.
Until we know the elevation, the depth of the water, how do you know this thing is even safe?
Yeah.
It's 25 foot wide. We were told it's 8 foot deep. There's no shelf, there's no kid proof, there's nothing, it's got a deep size.
Do you need the pond there, Virginia? Do you need it?
I have a donkey and a couple goats. I'm gonna have that area fenced in for them. It'll be fenced in.
I really think we need to have something that can be approved that limits the liability of the town. Whether I like it or not, your contractor decided to dig a pond because he saw some fill, and after the fact, seemed like a good idea at the time.
Well, he
All right,
didn't
so there is some,
understand that in the RS or whatever, anywhere else it's allowed, he's always been able to do it, so he didn't.
ignorance is not a good reason though.
It's still, even in the RVL, it's supposed to be on the site.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason why is there's supposed to be, and Chris can explain it to you, there's a bench, so if somebody falls in the water's, not deep enough, okay, they have a chance to get out before being overcome.
Well,
So
it is sloped like that.
we don't know that,
Oh, no.
okay? And that's the idea of having them on a site plan, okay, so it's safe. Protections for you as well as everybody else. And we also should recognize that there wasn't an earth balance there for some reason, okay? It was a hard stretch for you to go through all this stuff, but we need to have verification that appropriate pond construction standards were taken into account, and the fact that there's gonna be a fence around it, so then that needs a fence permit, okay, before we can approve it. All right, that's it, you know, after the fact, and then we can take a look at it. And so I would contact your design professional and let's get it all on the right page. So Chris, you and her will have some discussions of.
I'll give you a call.
I'm happy to do it, just coincidentally.
I would appreciate it. Sometimes things just get missed. I understand.
Well, this is the first I've heard of the time, so.
Right, everything.
Shoot it to JP first.
Sure. Virginia, I don't want, I know you're not having a good night. You said you were gonna.
I never do when I come here, never go.
You said you were gonna have a couple of goats?
I have a goat and a little mini donkey.
Yeah. Check the size of lot you required by the town to have livestock. Okay, 5 acres.
I got all of it out there.
Right, yeah.
Plenty of land.
Yeah. Your neighbors might complain.
Well, I've got them, I've had them for the last 10, 12 years, so. They'll just keep complaining.
Okay,
So,
sorry, yeah, sorry.
that's okay. I didn't expect anything different.
Alrighty, the next item on the agenda is for Nathan Calpin, 16 Con Meadow Drive. Preliminary and final subdivision.
Good evening, my name's Chris Schultz. I grew up this subdivision about 18 years ago. Was part of the second phase of Hidden Pines. Majority of the lots have been built on. This is a lot that was fully improved. Private drives in, water's in, water curb box throughout the lot. This one has a low pressure sanitary sewer similar to what you guys are putting up all the way down the lake shore. And that cleanup's actually with a lot too. We went out, checked grades, make sure there was nothing significantly changed from the original design, and it's not. So because of the age of the approvals, it was important to come back and just basically look at it again, make sure everything's consistent. This is just a couple aerials to pass along. The nice part about this lot is the south property line is fully wooded, and that was part of the original design to separate the houses on the town line road from the next phase, you know, get some buffering there. And the lot's in excess of 2 acres, so it's a nice big lot. You see, this is a plot plan that we used as part of the building permit application, just to show how the house will site. There's plenty of room. So basically, we're back asking for the board's blessing to get this thing going. The client actually is wanting to pull a permit and start building this house immediately. It's very straightforward and as you can get on these. So what you're doing is basically reapproving lot 207 of the original subdivision. That's because it's been so many years since it was approved before. Happy to say that the balance of the lots were built out for the plan. Some of the nicer houses in the town are built on that track. That's it.
JP.
It's already in an approved lot, it's really just a change in location. It's on public water, it's on sanitary sewer. So really, we're looking at just a change in building location and what was originally approved.
Yes.
And a modification in the driveway connection, but I don't have any engineering concerns with it. There's no proposed grade shown.
Yeah, we're just gonna follow the same grading. The house will stay the same elevation. Back when the low pressure sewers were a new thing, we proposed this to avoid having to cut every mature tree down in there. So it was a nice deal to do that.
That was a big deal at the time.
It was the first one out here, and it was. It took a lot to get that technology accepted, including meetings with the engineers from the health department down at sewer equipment and showing them demonstrations on the pumps. We went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so the house location's pretty much the same, the grading plan will be.
Right on
The
the,
utilities are where they were, so it's basically just changing where the driveway connection is. There's a proposed barn shown on this, but, that shouldn't impact drainage. So I think if the grading plan is adhered to, those modifications of the driveway and the barn, I wouldn't see as anything.
So nothing on this tax count number has changed. It's been taxed as.
It's already-
It's
Taxed as
approved,
approved lot.
so you don't need to have a preliminary and final subdivision lot approval.
No, it's already approved lot.
Okay. So we just needed an acknowledgement that this is happening.
Site plan modification.
Well, we all know that you can draw a box on a site plan within a building for setback requirement, and it's not gonna look like a square house.
No.
And you're gonna issue a permit based on that.
And
As long as there's no significant changes,
Right.
and change of lot.
The approved one had an unloaded garage and the driveway was going out to the west and then tying in on a private road. This one's just coming straight off.
Yeah.
And this one shows a barn, but
And it's a better location than before.
yeah, and actually,
Yes, for site
it's just been
distances.
so many years since the original approval. It predated a bunch of folks and, you know, when you first say it, is that even an approved lot? And then you, absolutely, it is. What do we do? Well, let's make sure JP has a shot at it and because the board's aware of it.
What type of motion is this gonna require?
Approval of amended site plan or site plan correction, however you want to phrase it. It's a trivial change. I would even say this requires a secret vote because secret is done for the subdivision.
Right.
Some of this, like the, but no, I don't want to. No, I'll
That's
stop.
right.
I'll stop.
Okay. Janine?
No comment.
Cheryl?
No comment, they've done everything they're supposed to do, the only the issue was because it's expired.
The original overall subdivision, but
Yes.
if they were consistent building.
Yes.
Linda?
No concern.
Steve? Dave? Steve? Jim?
I'm good.
Is that your neighbor?
This is my neighbor. My neighbor. I'll be a
So I
stranger.
expect you to have something to say.
No, I'm very glad to have him as a new neighbor. I think it's great. But I will abstain because and I just want to also say that Nate met with all the neighbors and we reviewed the site plan you see here and we had our comments and stuff and most of us have signed off on it. So from a neighborhood standpoint, it's got a blessing.
I knew that was coming for something. Okay, can we have a brief motion to approve this minor amendment to a previously approved subdivision, multi-lot subdivision?
I'll make a motion for the application Nathan Calvin, 16 Farm Meadows Drive, owner Nathan Calvin seeking minor site plan adjustment for single lot subdivision that was already approved. Construct a one-family dwelling to be located at 16 Farm Meadows Drive. This is the RM zoning district. Tax account number 029.01-2-16. Give letter of intent. Primary and final single lot subdivision application and site.
No, it was already subdivided.
Oh,
It's just a site plan.
Just site plan modification.
I'll second it.
Steve already did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Please.
Drew,
Yes.
Steve Ross,
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Snyder,
Yes.
Mark Valentine,
I'll abstain.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good luck.
Thanks. Okay. We have 2 items left, the same items. It's been left open from our last meeting for Tom and Wendy Monks, 550 Chase Road. We got nails that you can use in the corkboard too.
All right, good evening, everyone. You can hear me just fine, correct? All right.
You want to face towards the computer there.
That's right.
Okay. Is it, what's it doing?
I think it's reading.
Okay, I'll be right, I'll start it. Yeah.
Okay. It just wants to shut
I know
down.
what it said, thank you.
We have the same company that does it for us.
Very good. You may proceed.
All right, good evening, everyone. Hello again. My name is Tony Tintera. I'm the project manager with Mahar Engineering for the project at 550 Chase Road, Hilton, New York, 14468. Also joining us tonight is the owner of Mahar Engineering, Wendy Mahar. I just want to give a brief update from our original submission that was discussed at the last meeting, September 8th, where a few main comments were brought up by JP. The two smaller comments have been addressed in the site plans, namely correctly representing the front setback for Lot 1 and from the right-of-way of Chase Road, and also showing the conservation overlay district and the buffer zone associated with that on Lot 1 where our proposed development is for the single-family home over there. The large concern that was brought up at that meeting was with respect to access into both lots, namely Lot 2 for fire apparatus, given what we had originally shown being a 15-foot wide access strip from Chase Road extending back before turning 90 degrees into Lot 2. Based off of comments that were provided to us on September 17th from the town highway superintendent and the fire marshal, what was indicated to us was to increase the size of the access to Lot 2, to greatly increase that, and to also provide the ability for fire apparatus to turn around on Lot 1. With respect to just the subdivision itself, what we have done is shifted the property line right here further north in order to allow for a 50-foot outside turn radius for a fire apparatus vehicle. Worth mentioning is that Lot 2 is still being, what is being proposed for Lot 2 is approval without approval for building. At that point, what is shown on this sheet for you is just a schematic of what sort of driveway access to Lot 2 could provide in terms of the improved access for the fire apparatus with the improved turn radius at that 90-degree turn. And situated further along on the driveway, a typical hammerhead turnaround as provided in as detailed in the New York State Fire Code. Something that our discussion, myself and Ron Bragg, brought up with respect to this driveway is that it would, at this point, exceed 500 linear feet. And as such, a driveway pull-off would be required. It's not shown on this drawing, but likely the pull-off would be located before the hammerhead turnaround and right after that 90-degree turn, situated south of a proposed driveway. It's in the increased space between the property lines. That being said, I'd like to turn over the discussion to the planning board with respect to any comments or concerns you have for the improved access to Lot 2.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to read what Ron Bragg or Fire Marshal had to say about that? Okay, let me go down around the horn. Janine. She said they're not asking for, they're not showing any building. on either one of these lots. They're just asking for configuration. So we know which areas to avoid based on federal corridors and wetlands and all that other stuff. Am I correct?
So I am having to comment.
Jake Taylor.
Yeah, they've addressed all my concerns. There is a site plan shown for the lot to the west, and then the lot to the east is not approved for building.
Keith?
The board should be comfortable with the fact that there's a 15-foot driveway, that it's adequate for both the driveway and private utility services or whatever landscaping they might desire to do at some future. But other than that, I have no concern.
Cheryl?
No concerns, they addressed everything that they needed to take care of.
No, I think they've done a good job.
Steve?
No, I think what they did in industrial was exactly what I was looking for last time, long fire access and the turn radius.
Dave, when do you plan on building the houses there?
I think they're looking to build as soon as possible, so,
Well, then they'll be coming before the board again and for approval.
yes, yes,
Okay,
yep, we want to move forward.
okay. All right. What's up? Yes. Yeah.
Steve?
All good. Any comments to the question?
Joe?
I'm good. I would recommend you get a big blower. No.
This is considered a property split. Keith, is going to need a public hearing.
Yes. That's my understanding.
Would you be ready for a public hearing for next month?
Yes.
Is it too soon to actually show some configuration and construction on lots?
Well, there's a good site plan.
Yeah.
Site plan's done for lot one.
For lot one?
Yeah, that's
For lot one.
We're not seeking approval for lot 2 as an approved lot, only the subdivision of the 2 lots and then approval for site plan on lot 1.
That hasn't been approved by us.
No.
Yeah, for my notes, it said was planned to schedule a public hearing for October last month. Following review comment. Yeah, so it would be
So you want a public hearing for the subdivision or the property split? And site plan approval for lot 1?
Correct.
That's all I'm trying to get straight out there. Okay, would someone like to make a motion for scheduling a public hearing for November 2nd for these folks? For the split and site plan approval.
I'll make a motion for Tom and Wendy Monk, 550 Chase Road. Owner Tom and Wendy Monk seeking property split. Located at 550 Chase Road, 2 parcels be created. To be scheduled for public hearing on November 2nd and also for site plan approval at the same meeting.
We can do preliminary and final at the same meeting.
Right.
Second.
Full vote, please.
Lynn Drew? Yes. Steve Law?
Yeah.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Snyder?
Yes.
Marcellus Stan?
Yes.
King Hensley?
Yes.
Keith Hickman?
Yes. Okay, very good.
Thank you, folks.
That's it for the regular agenda. Janine?
The only thing I have from the conservation board, we're talking discussion, right? Chairman Dave Walsh and I are going to go purchase some trees for the highway department to plant on town property. So we'll be doing that this week. And other than that, I have nothing else to say.
Town board.
We approved the hire, well, we haven't formally done it, but, we've got a tax assessor that's going to fill the position. Subject to approval at the next town board meeting, and just working on budgets.
Farmland preservation.
Nothing yet. Hopefully.
Before the farmers all retire.
Yeah. Hopefully when things slow down.
Waiting for money.
Yeah, I don't know how Eric's coming on the grant. Part of it.
Okay. Well, I haven't heard anything in the LWRP either. So, you know, these nice little emails that say nothing from the state. So, I think everybody's waiting for the next shoe to drop with this COVID thing. Really do, and everybody's working hard now. Anybody else have anything you want to share with us? How's permits going?
Permits are going good. Going good. People are still putting additions in and spending a lot of money on their houses, bring pools in, only to have to close them the next day if they've been installed and wait for approval. Wait for an inspection.
You've been doing a lot of special use permit reviews.
Just started again since COVID. We just started this week, because with COVID, we couldn't really do,
Have you had any findings that you weren't,
I've
didn't
never,
think you'd come across?
no, I've never had anything on a special use permit, renewal that wasn't really special.
What happened at the laundromat? I was out of town.
Yeah, I was at the laundromat. It just appears that someone put some quilts and comforters in there that weren't supposed to be going to dry. So caught on fire, went into the mechanic room in the back. The smoke went all the way through the laundromat, so everything from the roof down, well, the roof's okay, but from the roof down had to be replaced. So it
Fire
was fun.
marshal's been in there and there's recommendations out there.
I was there. I was a fire marshal.
There was a new business we had just approved that went in there. Did he move?
He was so sad. He's able to, he had a vehicle in there ready to put a wrap on it, but I think he made out okay.
Okay.
What are you doing up on the corner?
All I can say right now is that, there was a court date today and we went to court and it went well. I'll just say it went well. Finally.
It's about time. Do we have any numbers of people who have contracted COVID?
We have to contact Monroe County Corporation. No, we don't keep track of that. It's my department. We did have another fire on Hamlin Road that I had to go to last week also.
That house was pretty well gutted. Garage, did the
The
fire
garage is
break
gone.
stop it from going into the main residence?
No, it didn't stop it.
Good friend of mine, Barry Case.
Very nice person. Up there for them. Plus they had just purchased a brand new huge fifth wheel like 4 days before and a quarter of it's gone.
Oh,
So that's gone.
I just saw the fire, but I thought they
Yeah.
rented one or something.
No, they lost it also. It was quite a shock to them.
Went through that camper like nobody's been there.
You know,
And it was pretty close to the garage too. But when I left, I think I spent 3 hours over there. And when I left, they brought in another fire investigator and they were really going through all the timbers up in the garage.
Yeah, garage is gone completely. The house really wasn't hurt much.
No, just a little bit on the
Yeah.
side, small.
And they got a big buyers that's putting them a brand new camper so they can still go south.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
What caused the fire, Steve?
I have my opinion, but I'm not gonna say anything.
Really very nice.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying a word.
All right, anybody on the board have anything to say?
Nah, the Yankees are playing.
Wait, I have one more thing. The house on Apple Hollow is in the process of being demolished, if not already done already from the fire we had a few months ago in summer, and she's going to put up a brand new ranch house. So that's going to be
The training sessions that are by Monroe County now?
Mhm.
It's hard to get at, if you follow the letter that they brought out and look at that website,
Yeah.
and you'll never find them. The
Oh, I
website doesn't exist, but if you go to the county's website on planning, scan it down through, you can find
Easier that
it.
way.
The
Okay.
question is, it doesn't explain how we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that on Zoom? Or
I don't know, I looked at it, and I just sent it out to everybody.
Yeah.
They're starting to do some different things, different entities are starting to do some in person. I just sort of training and, up to Lehigh Station, all the way up there, and I mean, it was very strange. A giant conference room with separate tables,
Yeah.
you know.
But those are online classes like.
Yeah,
the
these
ones
are
we
supposed to be
had before
online classes,
anyway.
but it doesn't,
I'll look into that for you tomorrow.
yeah, I just would like to know how to get on.
Okay.
You know, it's gonna be on YouTube or? Is it?
Either go to or Zoom usually.
Yeah.
I wish they'd come up with some different items. The introduction to this, and introduction to that. And Dave would probably say the same thing in 30+ years of being members of the board in a past life. It's just so repetitive. Okay? And if people give it them, they just want to talk about what their job is and what they've seen. And same court cases and everything else. I mean, you learn more out of the Mag Planning magazine than you
Charlie Blitz and the Sugar Shack.
I talked to a previous town board member about changing some of that. And I asked for, could we give like a half-hour time for going to other board meetings? I mean, when was the last time any of us sat at a zoning board meeting or a conservation board meeting? And
I had asked if we go to other towns.
And if we went to other towns and just, you know, did something in-house. Years ago, we had a seeker class, and we got the veterans up here, and we invited other towns, and we put on a lunch and all that. And because, yeah, some of the stormwater management, my God, you know, and 40 times. You know, and it just.
Can you struggle?
Yeah, but I think if we could get a little creative, it would be better for us, and maybe we could learn something out of it.
Well, we're gonna have to wait till COVID.
Yeah.
Away.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest that the state requirements for that 4 hours be relaxed. Or acknowledgement of them, because as a board, as a town board, you can recognize previous employment, you can recognize other training. I mean, you have the lassitude to be comfortable with the people that you have in front of you based on their past experience.
We can ask
Probably
for.
come to a historic preservation meeting also.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. I can't drink that much beer. All right,
It's not required.
we digress. Does anybody want to make a motion for dismissal?
I'll make a motion for dismissal.
You're all dismissed.
Second, Steve. Steve, you second that?
No, you already did.
Okay.
All in favor?
Okay, guys.
Finally cut in.
Thank you, people.
Thank you.
Steve.
It's only 9.
It's good to see you, right?
I think you did well.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Unless you.
My daughter has one of those steps going up to the covered bridge with the divorce because the bushes.
Maybe since the way I feel.
Since the police, why they spend money on the solar? Take
They
money.
need to have
Don't
that.
spend $1,000.
This is our new.
That's what they used to, you know.
Thank you.
I'm sure.
I love it out here. 15 years.